Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to share with you perspective from several XRP chart analysts, including one who shares what he believes will trigger $10 plus XRP, and it seems to be something from his perspective that is a requirement. And you don't have to be a chart analyst to understand why. I broadly agree with what he's saying right here, and so we'll get to that. Also want to share with you what's been happening in markets lately. So crypto, been ranging a fair bit for much of the last week. But this is against the backdrop of the stock market bumping up against all-time highs. In fact, today, more all-time highs hit. And understanding the importance of the correlation between, historically, how crypto just moves in tandem with equities, this is something we need to focus on. Because it works like this, basically, like I've been saying. If stock market's going up, then the crypto markets will continue to go up because they're being treated the same. They're functionally being treated as risk-on assets. So if crypto is going to go up, that means that Bitcoin's going up. It leads the market, and if that happens, then altcoins are going to move up, including XRP, and that's how we finally get to new XRP territory. So the starting point for all of this to occur, if you want your XRP to hit double digits here, which I think is possible to happen, we need the stock market to continue higher, but we are at this danger zone, which, there are analysts that have been pointing out quite regularly and for long periods of time now that this is a serious level to watch for, and we don't know for sure what's going to happen. So this is kind of like the make it or break it moment in terms of finding out what the stock market's going to do, and we're going to know sooner than later. So it's an exciting time. For some people, a time that's making them feel a little bit nervous. I understand why. I'm optimistic. We'll see what happens. Feeling optimistic. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, XRP is 55 cents, Bitcoin's 51,367 bucks. Market cap for the asset class, a little under $2 trillion. But we are in extreme greed. Take a look at the Crypto Fear and Greed Index at 76 out of 100. So again, like I said at the outset of this video here, interesting time to be in markets. Look at what's happening in traditional finance here. Here's a headline from FX Street. Stock market today. U.S. equities climb on Thursday as S&P 500 drives into new all-time high. And so it wasn't just the S&P 500 that hit a new all-time high today again. It's been hitting tons of new all-time highs this year. It was also the Dow Jones. And I can't recall where the NASDAQ 100 ended up, but I think it was up like 3%. I don't know that was a new all-time high. I meant to check that before recording. So regardless, though, it doesn't matter. Like it's a big day. I think it's safe to say that it's a big day. And as far as confluence of events, I'm not going to read this article, but just wanted to point this out. And this has been discussed in the world of crypto. Here it is from the New York Times. Stocks in Japan hit record high, surpassing 1989 peak. Congratulations for holding that long. Let's turn on the screen. Japan's high 225 index. 35 freaking years to get back to a new all-time high. That's some crazy stuff. And I kind of felt bad, like a little bit for some of the boomers, going through like the dot-com boom and bust. How inflated that thing got in, early 2000s. And then finally, after we start to get a recovery, you get into 2008 and 2009, then you have the great financial collapse. So you just have like this decade where it's like, it must have felt like you just can't get ahead. This looks like that on steroids. Like, that's crazy. And the only reason I wanted to mention it, though, really, is because it's interesting to see this confluence of events. So there was also this, though. So let's get into a little bit more crypto focus here and what's happening with Bitcoin. Because sure, fine, recent days, a bit of moving sideways, but what's the behavior look like? Because I still maintain that even though there's a lot of excitement in crypto markets, and I just showed you that we're technically in extreme greed today, according to the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, we have not had that many days in extreme greed, according to the Crypto Fear Index. There's all sorts of metrics I've been tracking. I don't want to spew them all again in this video, but there are a lot of reasons to indicate this clearly is not like the euphoria we saw during the last couple market cycles. So do we just not get that now, where that's not coming? Maybe some people think that. But what's the behavior that we're seeing? Because we know that whales act differently than the typical lemming retail speculators, right? And so you'd think that towards the end of the market, you'd start to see whales maybe start to distribute, right? Is that what's happening though? Well, according to Qiyong Zhu, who is the founder and CEO of CryptoQuant, that's not what's happening. He shared this chart and said whales are accumulating, not distributing Bitcoin. They're getting more. Then there was also this from chart analyst Credible Crypto, mega bullish at this point. He firmly believes we will be seeing new all-time highs. He is not afraid of equities or crypto markets tanking anytime soon. And so he shared this Bitcoin price chart and wrote the following. Bitcoin continues to range, alts bleeding a bit. This is basically prep for the next major impulse up on Bitcoin, in my opinion, and continuation of the up-only regime people should start getting comfortable with now. Something like below would be ideal, in my opinion. And so he's saying maybe, yeah, things go up a little bit here, but then perhaps down into the, upper 40,000 range potentially, but then rocket on up, hitting a new level, perhaps upwards of $56,000, $57,000. He also shared this. In a separate post, he wrote, more and more people every day waking up to the idea of a new Bitcoin all-time high in 2024 rather than in 2025. Yeah, and so that would be different, and this would absolutely, if this happens, this very strongly plays into the thesis that Credible Crypto has had for years at this point. He's consistently been saying the same thing. That basically dating back to 2018, that was the beginning of a cycle. It's a prolonged cycle compared to what we'd seen in the past. And as a result, it's possible that we could see a new all-time high before the Bitcoin halving. Not that it has to. He's not predicting that necessarily, but he thinks it's more probable we're going to see a new all-time high in this year rather than 2025, which breaks the 4-year cycle if this indeed happens. I mean, well, technically, it depends on where you're talking about peaking out, though. That's more so what people are curious about, because granted, in 2020, it is true, markets started heating up and Bitcoin started running on a tear. But in terms of like, where's the market topping? And especially if you're talking in the first half of 2024, if we're getting Bitcoin hitting new all-time high in the first half, that would throw some people for a loop, because that is not what most people are expecting. So I'm not making a prediction one way or another. I'm just tracking and seeing what people are saying, because it's just kind of fun to track who has the best, greatest hit rate of success over a longer period of time. Then there was this from chart analyst Ali Martinez. He wrote, he's talking about Bitcoin here, $51,500 has now become one of the most important support zones for Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin continues to hold above it, there is a good chance it will advance towards $57,000. And so at the point that I'm recording this, it's not far off from that. We'll see what happens. Then there's also this from Rect Capital, another very popular chart analyst in the world of crypto. Bitcoin halving is in April 2024. Next bull market peak could occur 518 to 546 days after the halving. Bitcoin could peak in mid-September 2025 or mid-October 2025. Okay, so if you buy into the 4-year cycle, which has made sense to pretty much everybody in crypto up to this point, then that doesn't sound bonkers in the least. It just depends. Do you think that makes more sense? Do you think that everything collapses from here, kind of like the blockchain backers warning might happen? Or do you think that Credible Crypto is correct and there's an elongated cycle right now? There are a lot of different perspectives out there, and nobody knows for sure. And the most honest analysts will say they don't know for sure. They have their convictions, they have their leanings, which I respect, whatever they think. But anybody that's insisting they know for sure, I'm like, no, you don't, though. no, you don't. Then there's this from the blockchain backer. Okay, so he shared this chart. It's the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and he's sharing this on a day where we now know that the Dow Jones and S&P 500 hit new all-time highs. And so that's what's here with these, the red and green chart here, and then on the right is the depression at the end of the 20s, stock collapse. And so the blockchain backer wrote, the Dow Jones Industrial Average bubble is officially the exact same height as the Roaring Twenties bubble from the 1920s. And then he notes that from 1921 to 1929, there was a 504% increase. And then from 2009 to 2024, also a 504% increase. It's now equivalent. Not in terms of length of time, that's not what matters, but just in terms of the progression of this chart playing out. And it even visually looks quite similar, doesn't it? Like very similar, especially in some notable, like truly key parts here. That is history rhyming with itself. I mean, you can't deny that, right? I mean, that's something there. So then the question is it actually going to keep running here? See, that's the thing. So not to scare people, I'm going to share with you a couple of perspectives because there are a number of reputable sources, including the blockchain backer, who are just warning this could be very bad. Now, he's not saying it with certainty. He does say that this is his base case, and he's laid out in great detail on his channel all the reasons from a technical analysis perspective why he believes that this is what's most probable, though he acknowledges, hey, if things run higher, fine. He'll be thrilled if they run higher because that's financially even better for him. And obviously, if you talk about Bitcoin actually going on a tear and hitting a new all-time high, well, I mean, you know that that's just going to be that many more times better for all of the altcoins, which is where, let's be real, pretty much all of us are making our life-changing wealth, right? It's going to come from the altcoins, not from Bitcoin, right? So we could still have a fun rally without that, potentially, but if Bitcoin does hit a new all-time high, yeah, the blockchain backer would be thrilled to see that. And he acknowledges it's possible. He just doesn't really think that's probable. And he's warning, like, he's just being straight up and intellectually honest. He's just saying, hey, here's the data. Like, we should be, cautious and concerned here. I say fair enough. How is that unreasonable? And then there's some people that are just jerks to him still. Like, it really grinds my gears, folks. I don't care what your perspective is. Like, as long as there's civil discourse, I like to see people debate ideas, whether it's on charts or ideas about long-term viability of crypto, whatever it is. It's less fun when people are mocking and screaming at each other and deriding one another, which is not what the blockchain backer does, of course. But I see them coming at him because he holds a minority view. It's not a popular view. But you know what? He was right during the last cycle. He said, no, it looks like Bitcoin's about topping close to the $7,000 range, and people are making fun of him. No, he was right. Absolutely. So he holds a minority position here too. Listen, though, okay? I also wanted to highlight this because this is a headline from August, but Bitcoin mirroring 1930 stock market crash, tech progress from nearly 100 years ago, Bloomberg analysts. And I don't want to read this, but I just want to make a broader point. They're talking about Bloomberg analyst Mike McGlone, very well known in the world of crypto. And so he was making this point last August, and I actually was watching a video. It was a Scott Melker video, The Wolf of Wall Street. Mike McGlone was on his channel just this afternoon, and he's just warning. He's like, hey, Dow Jones, it's looking like 1929. So just to be clear, this is not only the blockchain backer that is saying this. And so I'm trying to present to you as many perspectives as I can reasonably do so, as long as I don't think they're bat S-word crazy, and this isn't. So I don't pretend to know what's going to happen, but I'm just warning, like, there are absolutely multiple reputable people that say that this could be problematic. And again, Mike McGlone literally saying this in a stream this afternoon. Here's chart analyst, or maybe he doesn't call himself chart analyst, but analyst TXMC. He has some charts up, but like a lot of stuff on a macro scale too. Very smart guy, used to be with Glassnode. And this is kind of like a warning. He posted this morning. He said, I think Bitcoin and equity markets are near their highs. The Pico wick may not be printed, but we're within spitting distance if not. Alts look to still have some runway, but in my opinion, not a new full 2021 style cycle. Almost no one agrees, which is what I'd expect at an inflection. Yes, I am invested before you ask. Yes, I will still extract from the market if this view is wrong, but I don't think I will be wrong when all is said and done. Okay, so intellectually honest human. He thinks he's right. He has a strong conviction, and as well he deserves to have. He acknowledges there's a chance he could be wrong. He just doesn't think that's likely. Now, I want him to be wrong, and he probably would like himself to be wrong because, then that's financially better for him and us, everybody, right? But he's another reputable guy out here just saying, hey, this is kind of a scary point. Now, if we burst through this, like, I will feel much more relieved because I've been on pins and needles just as much as anybody else, even though I'm optimistic. But it's where we're at right now because I understand what this means for all of my crypto holdings. Because for crypto to go, we need the stock market to keep going. If this thing starts tanking, that's going to be one indicator. These asset classes move in tandem. And so if that happens, I'm not going to be as confident about XRP hitting a new all-time high anytime soon. Now, there's also Frecky, XRP community member Frecky, who has been in crypto since 2011, actually. That's when he first picked up Bitcoin. And he actually works in finance. Like, his career is actually in finance. Very well-informed individual. And he does have a little bit of a different perspective here. He actually doesn't think that we're going to be, entering some sort of depression. Now, to be clear, so what he did was here, you can see if you're looking on the screen, he reposted the blockchain backer post, which I just shared with you a couple minutes ago, where he's highlighting, hey, this chart formation right now, the Dow Jones kind of looks like 1929, just a warning. Just to be clear, the blockchain backer has said many times, he doesn't mean that even if there's a drawdown or where he enters some sort of bear territory shortly after this, he's not saying that we're going to be in a great depression. That's not his argument. He's not saying that that's necessarily what would follow. He's just warning, based on the chart formation, could be bad here. Now, Frecky, he's made it pretty clear he does not think that we're going to be entering some sort of depression, and he notes that recessions are normal. He wrote the following, which I wanted to share with you to kind of just share a little bit of a different perspective on this, because he's not the least bit afraid of where we are at with the stock market or anything along those lines. So he said, because we're in a different moment. Like, there are other macro factors that are different. And so he shared this post from Blockchain Backer, and Frecky wrote the following: and not the same market conditions nor monetarily. Recessions will come and normal. You will live through many in your lifetimes. Recession enters, Fed will drop rates, as now they have the ammunition to do so versus none before. USD off gold standard, printing will continue. And so he's just noting, and I've shared perspective from other sources that I find to be very reputable as well. Even if the charts are very samey, you do need to consider the macro backdrop and other things that are happening. And so Frecky here is just noting market conditions not the same as back then, monetarily not in the same position, and recessions are normal anyway. So is the Fed going to drop rates now? And you know what's interesting? If you guys have been looking at the prediction markets for when the Fed's likely to cut rates, I think it's in July now, especially after the stock market rallied. I don't know if it changed today, but I think it's like the market seems to think that maybe it's going to happen in July. But the other day, like a week or so ago, what was it? Like, you're expecting it was going to happen in June. And if you go even further back, at one point, the market was thinking that the rate cuts were going to happen in March. Well, son, that's like about a week away. And then we're in March. So, but the market doesn't think that's probable anymore. And so it's just fascinating. The more time passes, the further pushback that gets, which, in theory, it could be good, because like I don't think that if you understand historically what rate cuts typically mean, you know that it's bad omen. When you get rate cuts from the Fed, that's because there's something reactionary from the Fed. Or they can see that something is basically broken, and then it's in response to that. And so then after that happens, it's not uncommon for markets to just absolutely tank, which has happened the last 3 times the Fed cut rates. And so it's not that the act of cutting rates is triggering the fall. It's not. It's that they see something, the Fed reacts, and then the market ends up getting in line with, unfortunately, what you should expect if you know what happened the last 3 times, the rate cuts here. I hope that doesn't happen. We're going to find out together, folks. We are going to find out together. And if you want your XRP to be worth fortune, let's just hope that doesn't happen. So let's get to some of this XRP stuff here. From Chart Analyst Cryptos, XRP holding significant weekly support. So far, we are looking okay. A weekly close at that level would be bullish. And then there's also this. Here we go. This is from Lup Crypto. And this is one of the things I was kind of referencing at the outset of the video here. Basically a requirement but just about, for XRP to be, running into new all-time highs here and ultimately get into double digits. And so he wrote the following: I have 2 macro Elliott wave counts for XRP, a bullish and bearish one. Here's the bullish count. Note that the bullish count has a strong prerequisite of Bitcoin surpassing previous all-time highs of $69,000 first. And then you can see if that happens, then he's talking about, okay, potentially then you're talking about pretty safely getting up to $10 plus XRP. And so that's the thing. Like, I'm not a chart guy. I don't want to be a chart guy. But you don't have to be a chart guy to understand that every time that XRP has gone on a crazy run, it's because Bitcoin did hit a new all-time high first. I'm just not so sure why I should be confident XRP will behave differently this time if Bitcoin does not. And so this particular analyst is saying, yeah, absolutely, XRP can go over $10, but Bitcoin does need to hit a new all-time high first. Which, we'll see what happens. It's not like I'm 100% certain that Bitcoin has to hit a new all-time high, but I don't really feel very confident if it doesn't, right? I think that's fair. And so he's thinking the same. You don't have to be a chart guy to understand that. It's just historical precedent. There's also this from chart analyst XRP, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to share this whole thread here, but he was just noting, it's like an updated thread. He just kind of updates it with various data from time to time, but he's noting the conviction for him there in the short term for XRP to $1.40 still stands. But he had another post, which I think you're going to find, I found subjectively more interesting. And I want to share this one, spend just a slightly bit more time on this one. But this is an XRP BTC chart. And look, having been around in crypto for over 6 years, I am well versed with the XRP BTC chart. Because frequently what happens is, even if XRP is not bleeding out against the United States dollar, so the price it's a little volatile, mostly moving sideways, maybe a slow trend down, something like that. But then what happens is, Bitcoin goes on a tremendous rally against the dollar, becoming worth way more. And so even if XRP is just kind of moving sideways, it's losing value against Bitcoin. And that is when the sentiment is in the tank. It's just the worst. And that's pretty much where we are right now. But that's why I get excited. Like, people think that's a negative. I'm like, no. I expect humans to emotionally respond like this on the internet when Bitcoin's rallying and XRP's mostly moving side. Yes, I expect that. Because usually when this happens, good stuff happens right after. And so there are 4 instances on the screen. The 4th one would be what we're basically living through right now, and we'll see where it bottoms out here. But you can see, going back to, into 2014, 2017, 2021, you can see what happened. When XRP BTC pair looks like this, it's a good sign. Because eventually markets bottom out. And that's basically where we are right now. And so XRP wrote, XRP/BTC, official bull run announcement. Historical analysis suggests that the whitish green box is typically touched or wicked into, marking the start of a bull run. This pattern often serves as the official announcement for the bull run. Yeah, and so that is, he's right. That is absolutely historically what happens. He says this would be a great signal. And as he called it here, official bull run announcement, which is a fun way to articulate, we bought there, son. So while everybody's actually freaking out right now, I'm like, whew, just kind of rub my hands together. I'm like, yeah, let's get it going, son. Because that's what it's meant in the past. And we know that we've been in bull territory, so set aside the whole conversation, which I spent a lot of time in this video going through, in terms of whether or not we're actually topping right now. I'm just saying, the setup right here, historical precedent, says, yeah, this thing, when it goes quick, and it always seems impossible until this happens. And then what happens once it goes? All the naysayers, all the negative sentiment, these people shut their stupid face holes, and it's really more pleasant on the internet then. It's delightful. And everybody's thrilled. Everybody gets really excited and eventually euphoric. That's what could be coming our way right now. So sit tight, and we are going to find out together. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.